Food Insecurity and Learning at an Elementary School at Carl Junction R1 Schools by the researcher, Jake Stevenson. During the fall of the 2024 semester, the researcher used the design thinking process to address food insecurity and learning at an elementary school in Carl Junction, Missouri. According to Mindful Marks and Hastings 2018, design thinking is a human-centered and is non-linear. It can be an infinite loop to get to a desired outcome. The process involves 5 stages. 1. Empathize. 2. Define. 3. Ideate. 4. Prototype. 5. Test. Design thinking can tackle wicked problems and can help innovate products such as food insecurity in an elementary school. The purpose of this presentation is to describe each stage of the design thinking process, describe the researcher's understanding of the process, and provide an understanding of the use of proper scholarly tone, all while tackling the problem of food insecurity and learning. To begin the process, the researcher began by developing a literature review on food insecurity and learning. According to Berg et al. 2019, examines the link between food insecurity and various health outcomes, highlighting its roles as critical social determinant of health. The study underscores the association between food insecurity and increased risks of chronic diseases, oral health issues, and diminished overall well-being, emphasizing the need for public health interventions. In addition, according to No Kid Hungry, ND, discusses the adverse effects of hunger and food insecurity of children's ability to learn. The source details how insufficient access to nutritious food negatively impacts cognitive development, focus, and academic performance, while also linking hunger to behavioral challenges in the classroom. Furthermore, Olivia and Clark 2022 explore the relationship between participation in the Special Supplemental Nutritional Program for Women, Infants, and Children, the WIC, and the cost of living across geographic areas in the United States. Their analysis reveals that the WIC benefits are not consistently adjusted for regional price differences, which limits the program's effectiveness in addressing food insecurity in high-cost areas. Furthermore, Graham 2023 provides a comprehensive overview of food insecurity in the United States, examining its causes, prevalence, and societal implications. The article discusses how the economic disparities, policy gaps, and limited access to resources perpetuate food insecurity, calling for systematic solutions to address their pressing issue. Finally, O'Farah and Albay, 2023, utilized machine learning models to analyze the influence of food insecurity on nutrient consumption and malnutrition in children aged 6 months to 5 years. The study demonstrates how predictive analytics can identify vulnerable populations and inform targeted nutritional interventions to combat malnutrition. Empathy is the first stage to the design thinking process. According to Design Thinking Conference, empathy is a chance to open the brain to new possibilities and opportunities. Empathy is a chance to understand all sides to help resolve a problem. Here, the researcher should set aside assumptions. The researcher is trying to solve a problem of food insecurity and learning in an elementary setting. For this stage, the researcher conducted an empathy interview. The end users are elementary students in the Carl Junction community. The researcher chose to interview a parent, teacher and food service director in the Carl Junction School District. The interviews were conducted in similar ways to create consistency. The researcher introduced themselves to the participant by using the following script. Hi, my name is Jake Stevenson, and I am really excited to speak with you today. My role is to better understand your experiences, gather insights that will be helpful to gain insight on possible relationship of food insecurity and learning. I'm here to listen and learn from your perspective, and everything you share will be valuable. This conversation is really about hearing your story to understand how you understand this current topic. So feel free to be as open and honest as you would like. There are no right or wrong answers. My goal is to better understand what food insecurity and learning look like from your point of view so I can take insights back and make informed decisions. To establish rapport with the participants, the researcher created a script. Before creating a script, expressed active listening, showed vulnerability, and acknowledged participants' perspective. The following questions were used for all the interviews in the report portion. What does food insecurity mean to you? Follow-up. Describe experiences, if any, drew you to the previous response. Question 2. How do you perceive food insecurity and a student's ability to learn? Follow-up. What experience, if any, drew you to that conclusion? Question 3. What is your perception of hunger and a student's ability to have energy and motivation? Follow-up. Why? Next question. Describe food insecurity challenges, if any, in the Carl Junction community. Follow-up question. What solutions do you propose to these potential challenges? Next question. Please describe a family that may face challenges with food insecurity. Follow-up. Why would this family described be willing to reach out for help or not? After the questions, the researcher concluded the interviews by using the following. As we conclude the interview, is there any questions or items that I missed that would have better exemplified this topic of food insecurity and learning? If items were missed, then the discussion was had. Then the researcher sincerely thanked the individual, stood up, and shook the participant's hand. In addition of conducting interviews, the researcher conducted an observation. The observation setting was an elementary cafeteria. The researcher observed student behavior, eating habits, and social interactions. The researcher chose to observe 2 students during a 3rd grade lunch period at Carl Junction Primary 2-3 from 12 to 12:25 p.m. School lunches are 25 minutes long, and the entire grade level eats in the cafeteria. While waiting in line, the researcher noticed that one student smiled at the opportunity for lunch, while the other appeared indifferent. The student that smiled moved through the line quickly and sat down right away. In contrast, the student who seemed indifferent moved slowly and appeared to be looking for other food options. During the lunch period, the student appeared to smile and ate food rather quickly. The student who smiled seemed to like the food provided and displayed more energy. The student was very socially engaged during the last few minutes of the lunch period. On the other hand, the student who didn't eat much for lunch sat quietly and primarily ate just grapes. Notably, the student didn't say a word throughout the entire lunch period. As the students left the cafeteria, the student who had eaten his entire meal was cheerful, even skipping down the hall, though he had to be redirected by one of the teachers. Meanwhile, the other student walked slowly back to class with hands in pockets. Concluding the interview, the researcher considered the following roles and processes. The researcher is curious to see if student lunch option decisions have a positive influence on their mood or social interactions. Does the food the students eat have a positive influence on mood or engagement with peers? What alternatives are available for students who do not want the menu option? For students who don't enjoy school lunch but still eat it, is this due to a parental choice or a financial constraint? Following the observation, the researcher developed a problem-based research brief. Food insecurity is a pressing issue that can disproportionately influence students and community members, significantly limiting access to affordable and nutritious meals. According to Berg et al. 2019, this lack of access not only jeopardizes physical health, but also undermines emotional well-being and academic performance, ultimately diminishing overall quality of life. Despite existing food assistance programs, many individuals continue to face barriers that prevent them from obtaining adequate nutrition. Therefore, there is an urgent need to explore solutions that ensure reliable access to food while promoting dignity, support, and empowerment within the community. This research investigated the food insecurity on students' academic outcomes and emotional health, evaluated the efficacy of current community-based food assistance programs, and identified innovative strategies that could improve food access and foster a supportive environment. By addressing these issues, the study aimed to contribute to the development of comprehensive approaches that alleviated food insecurity and enhanced the well-being of individuals and family. A description of the research problem context: food insecurity is present in Carl Junction community, particularly among students who rely on school meals for their daily nutrition. According to U.S. News 2024, 28.7% of students qualify for free and reduced lunch at Carl Junction schools. The building where the observation took place has 23 classrooms. 2 classroom teachers qualify for free and reduced lunch. The current community resources seem to be inconsistent and have not improved this issue thus far. Roles of the users and a short description of the users. Students, primary users experiencing food insecurity, often marginalized and stressed due to inability to access nutritious meals during the day, the need and supportive environment where they can obtain with food without a stigma. Cafeteria workers, secondary users responsible for providing the meals. The secondary users require support and resources to serve all the students, particularly those facing food insecurity. In addition, during this process, the researcher developed an empathy map. An empathy map outlined 4 sections during the observation. Those 4 sections were divided into thinks, says, feels, and does. Thinks, what's running through the user's mind. Says, what does the user may communicate. Does, what actions do the users do or what takes place, and feels, what emotions or feels do the users have. During this observation in the thinks section, the researcher observed statements from students and users. Wish there was another option. I am still hungry. Another user, I love lunch. I have energy. In the says section, one user, nothing. The user was quiet during the lunch period. Another user, I love lunch. I love school. Does, one user, throwing food away. And walking down the hall, head down, hands in pocket. Another user in does showed actions of high energy and social interaction, skipping, excited for rest of school day. Feels, one user, sad, unwanted. The other user, happy, I belong. In addition, during this stage, the researcher created an affinity map. According to TED 2021, the purpose of the affinity map is to take a large idea and concept and generate themes with a team approach to help defining the problem at hand. The researcher created an affinity map with a teacher and a counselor in the Carl Junction Primary 2-3 building in an office setting. The researcher and team generated statements on a sticky note and then categorized the map into 3 themes. Those 3 themes included accessibility, stigma, and emotional well-being. The sticky notes under accessibility included availability, cost, nutrition, and equity. Under stigma, the sticky notes included embarrassed, isolation, and perception. Under emotional well-being, the sticky notes included stress, anxiety, coping, confidence, and focus. The affinity map was beneficial to help the researcher help define this portion of the design thinking process. Following the define stage is ideate. According to Hastings 2018, the ideation phase is about brainstorming and generating a large quantity of diverse ideas to develop the proper prototypes. During the ideation stage of design thinking process, the researcher facilitated a brainstorming session to generate solutions to the problem of food insecurity and learning among elementary age students. The objective was to produce at least 15 solutions related to the defined problem and identify 3 to 5 potential solutions for prototyping. Decker 2020 suggests focusing on quantity during brainstorming can lead to high-quality, usable solutions. Before the brainstorming, the researchers selected 3 individuals to assist with the process, 2 females and 1 male, all educators from the Carl Junction R1 district. However, only 1 participant had prior knowledge of food insecurity. The brainstorming session took place via phone call, and the facilitator was in an elementary school conference room with a whiteboard and red sticky notes used to capture ideas. Due to participants' availability, the session was conducted over a phone call. The researcher, acting as the lead facilitator, handled the writing of ideas on sticky notes and the board, while participants contributed valuable input. The facilitator began by defining the problem and explaining the session's goal: to generate as many potential solutions as possible, categorize them, and identify the top 3 to 5 most beneficial options. According to Hastings 2018, the ideation phase emphasized quantity over quality, ensuring all voices were heard and encouraging novel ideas. The group agreed to break the session into 3 10-minute segments: 10 minutes for brainstorming, 10 minutes for organizing and grouping ideas, and 10 minutes for selecting the top solutions. As a final piece of guidance, the facilitator encouraged the group by stating all ideas were welcome, reinforcing the importance of creativity and process in problem solving. According to Montmall 2015, the motivational approach tied into the concept of time, encouragement, and process foster creative problem solving. During the brainstorming session lasted 10 minutes, during which we generated 17 potential solutions to the problem. The facilitator worked to maintain the participants' creative energy throughout the session. While several ideas emerged within the first 3 minutes, the conversation occasionally veered off topic. However, the facilitator successfully refocused the group, leading to a strong finish with many valuable solutions to consider. Since the session was conducted over the phone in a conference room, the facilitator played a key role in driving the creative process. As the only participant who could see the physical product being created, the facilitator's guidance was crucial in keeping the group engaged and productive. After the brainstorming, the next 20 minutes followed the brainstorming session, during which 17 ideas were generated. The first 10 minutes were dedicated to grouping the ideas into categories. The categories emerged were community-based solutions, educational opportunity solutions, and programs ideas with current resources. 5 sticky notes fell under community-based solutions, 5 under educational opportunity solutions, and 7 under programs ideas with current resources. The following 10 minutes were spent selecting the top solutions from the groupings. The group identified 5 potential solutions we believed would have the most immediate influence on the problem. The top solutions were marked with a star on the sticky notes, indicating which ideas the group would like to prototype. Overall, the session had positive takeaways. The group positively collaborated, and the creative energy was strong when the team was focused. However, some improvements that could be made for future sessions: conducting the session in person rather than over the phone would likely enhance participation and engagement. Additionally, setting clear expectations beforehand about maintaining a focus and minimizing off-topic discussions could improve time management. The pictures provided illustrate the process. The first picture shows the original ideas generated during the brainstorming. The second shows the groupings, and the third highlights the top solutions selected for prototyping, marked with stars. As mentioned in the previous slide, during the brainstorming session, the facilitator and team generated numerous potential solutions addressing food insecurity and learning in an elementary setting. 2 solutions identified for further exploration included staff education and training, along with a backpack program. These initiatives represent feasible starting points for addressing community needs in Carl Junction, and were recognized as practical approaches to mitigating the issue. One proposal, flexible meal times for students, was quickly discarded. Despite its potential benefits, collaborators concluded that implementation would pose significant monitoring challenges and risk disrupting instructional time. Another idea that facilitator discarded was the weekend meal programs. School is not in session over the weekend. Getting individuals to commit to work these weekends and getting families to participate did not seem feasible. The ideation phase of design thinking process is where creative solutions are generated to address user-centered challenges. According to Stevenson 2023, this step is the process of generating a broad set of ideas on a given topic, with no attempt to judge or evaluate the individual. The researcher found techniques such as brainstorming, mind mapping, to be beneficial to developing solutions to food insecurity and learning for elementary age students. These techniques allowed participants to break boundaries, fostering innovative ideas by quantity and originality over immediate feasibility. By welcoming unconventional ideas, the ideation phase creates an environment where creativity thrives, setting a foundation for selecting solutions in subsequent phases. The researcher eliminated the technique of electric brainstorming due to the lack of engagement and face-to-face interactions. In this phase, team members play a crucial role, bringing diverse perspectives that enrich the idea pool and ensure comprehensive exploration of potential solutions. This collaborative approach, centered to design thinking, leads to more user-centered inclusive innovations, according to Dom and Siang 2020. Through ideation, design thinking channels creativity into actionable concepts that can be tested and refined, ultimately finding prototypes for the problem-solving process. Following the ideation stage is the prototype stage. According to Simple Learn 2024, the purpose of prototype in design thinking is to test products and the product's ideas prior to launch. Prototypes are simulations or samples or final products that are used as testing tools according to Diam and Singh 2024. Low fidelity prototypes allow us to quickly and inexpensively test ideas so we can validate our hypothesis and improve our solutions. 5 common types of low fidelity prototypes include sketches, paper, Lego, digital, and Wizard of Oz. For this stage, the researcher created a paper model in way of a flow chart. The concept was a backpack program. Step 1 was identification and enrollment, and in step 1, the details would include teacher and staff observation and parent and guardian potential consent. Step 2, backpack contents and preparation. Some details would include food and items, learning materials, and wellness hygiene items as an option. Step 3, packaging and distribution. The day of packaging. And then information regarding distribution on how we would get the items to the consumers or users. Step 4, ongoing support and feedback. Check in with students and parent and guardian and potential community feedback. Following the creation of low-fidelity prototype for the backpack program, the researcher invited feedback. The feedback the researcher received included adding refrigerated food items, supplementing financials, considering items for packaging, such as a can opener, etc., and sustainable food for long school breaks. The researcher learned to be more intentional with food selection, keeping consumers in mind to be intentional of consumer needs and select food that could withstand long breaks. Regarding prototype stage, the researcher learned to adapt potential prototypes to fit consumer needs, adapt budget to fit facilitators' needs, and use feedback from counterparts to make the prototype better. Following the prototype stage, the researcher moved to the testing stage of design thinking. The null hypothesis proposes no relationship exists between the number of students participating in the school-based backpack program and attendance. Academic performance, or well-being scores, measured by subjective well-being questionnaire, Renshaw 2020. This refined hypothesis is based on peer and instructor feedback and is both measurable and directly focused on addressing the identified problem. Implementation plan for backpack program. A structured and detailed timeline provides a framework for implementing the backpack program. The first month focuses on initial planning through meetings with school administrators, counselors, and community partners to outline program goals and objectives. This phase also includes identifying target demographics and drafting essential documents such as consent forms and data collection tools. Stakeholder engagement is emphasized in the second month, with informational sessions held for teachers, parents, and community volunteers to provide awareness and secure support. During this time, volunteers are recruited to manage logistics and assist with data collection. Distribution of consent forms ensures compliance with ethical standards. During the third month, preparations for program operations come together. Partnerships with local food banks, nonprofit organizations, and donors are established to secure necessary resources. Logistics for the backpack distribution, including frequency and designated pickup points, are finalized. Volunteers undergo training and program protocols to ensure smooth implementation. The program officially launches in the fourth month with weekly backpack distributions that include essential supplies. Attendance and participation are monitored closely to track engagement. A midpoint review conducted during the fifth and sixth month analyzes interim data such as participation rates and feedback surveys to inform potential program adjustments. In the seventh month, data collection is completed and comprehensive report summarizing findings and outcomes is shared with stakeholders. Plans for long-term sustainability are also outlined during this final stage. Participants play a crucial role in this program. The minimum implementation groups includes 20 students and 5 volunteers or staff members, while the maximum capacity involves 50 students and 15 volunteers. Participants include students who received program benefits, parent or guardian who have provided consent and offer feedback, and school staff such as teachers, counselors who assist in identifying eligible students. Community volunteers manage logistical responsibilities and support the program's operations. Ethical implementation relies heavily on obtaining proper consent. Parents and guardians must consent to student participation and related data collection activities. Approval from school administrations is necessary to conduct the program on campus, while volunteers and staff members are required to consent participation in training and data collection processes. These measures ensure all parties are informed and willing and engaged in the program. Data collection is critical for evaluating the hypothesis and assessing program outcomes. Attendance records are analyzed to determine whether the program participation aligns with changes in school attendance. Surveys and feedback forms are distributed to students, parents, and staff to gather qualitative insights. Academic performance reports, when available and consented to, are examined to identify potential correlations with learning outcomes. Participation rates are tracked to assess program reach and logistical feasibility. Principles of design thinking guide the implementation plan through a human-centered interactive methodology. The emphasized phase involves direct engagement with stakeholders to identify their needs and challenges. During the defined phase, the program's objectives are clearly articulated, focusing on providing students with essential resources to enhance learning outcomes. Collaborative ideation with school staff and community members fosters innovative approaches to addressing these challenges. The program launch serves as a prototype, allowing for adjustments based on feedback from a pilot group before scaling further. According to Hastings 2018, the testing phase emphasizes data collection and analysis, ensuring the program evolves to address identified needs effectively. This collaborative approach ensures the program adapts to the evolving needs of its participants and stakeholders. By employing principles of design thinking, the implementation plan prioritizes sustainability and offers research-based structure response to the problem being addressed. The researcher will take two key concepts from this course to apply in a researcher's career moving forward and in doctorate program. The first concept is using the design thinking process and problem-solving decisions moving forward. The researcher has found this process to be beneficial to solving any major problem. The second concept is the use of scholarly tone. The researcher has grown in this area and will continue to take the foundation created in this course into future work and processes.